When you turn on the TV and read the newspaper and see all the violence, hatred, and suffering in the world, how do you keep compassion from turning into despair for the world? Of course, from TV you see a lot of, if you would like to summarize the content of all TVs, most of them can be fit and compassed into two categories. It's either sex or violence. So that's what you see on TV and on mass communication. What do? What can you do? Why don't you change yourself first? You want to render compassion. You don't want to turn your compassion into despair. You feel so sorry for those who get hurt. Why don't you do it this way? Don't just be sympathetic with them. You could be watching all these things, and on the other hand, you could be doing some of these things. Take, for instance, you're watching televisions and they're killing seal in the Arctic Ocean, killing whales. So they're killing animals for food or for fur and for luxuries. What do? You're watching, I'm sympathetic. I'm sympathetic with the whales, I'm sympathetic with the seals, but I'm still supporting slaughtering animals for food. I like beef, I like pork, I like Kentucky Fried Chicken, I like all these things. So actually you're indirectly supporting what you're watching. Why don't you become a vegetarian? Take the first step. Be a vegetarian yourself. Don't just say, I'm sympathetic, and yet I'm not doing the right thing either. Are you modifying yourself first? Ask yourself. Change yourself before you can change the world. You want to purify the world? No one can purify the world without purifying his own mind. No politician can make the country better if in his mind he has no idea of how to make himself better. You agree? So you have to change yourself first. So how do you change, keep compassion from turning to despair? Why don't you take the precepts? Abstain from killing, abstain from lying, abstain from sexual misconduct. Change yourself first as the first step. It's just like in the family. How can I change my wife? He's always nagging at me. Why don't you change yourself? Are you nagging at your own wife? Are you positively changing yourself? Don't just put your responsibility on others. You've got to change. You've got to watch yourself first. Change yourself first. If you change yourself, then your partner will watch that you have changed, and he will be influenced. He will say, gee, my husband has, since he's been to the Dharma center, to the Buddhist temple, he's changed. He's become kinder, he's become compassionate, and he's become very quiet and very cooperative. You affected your wife indirectly. On the other hand, if you don't do it that way, you say, change yourself. You got to be better. Improve yourself. Are you not improving yourself? All right, I'm not going to keep this question for too long. All right? Change yourself before you change the world. If somebody asked you what is the most important words in Siddhikapa Sutra, you can Google into Siddhikapa Sutra. It has 13 chapters. And you can get from Google the whole sutra. And I just mentioned that the most important paragraph in there, I just read out to everybody in here. Maybe I'll read it out in Chinese, in English too. Sakyamuni Buddha then told Siddhikapa Bodhisattva, the natural powers of perception of all those who have not yet been liberated from the samsara world out of an unsteady nature. Sometimes they do good deeds, and sometimes they commit sins. They receive their karma according to their deeds. They have to undergo births and deaths, to be tested continuously at different stages, the ocean of sufferings from kalpas to kalpas. They will always be in one of the following 5 states: human beings, animals, subhumans in hell, ghosts, asuras. Like fish, they will be caught in nets again. They may be set free for some time and be caught again. So, we have been going through the paths of reincarnation. We're changing our body in every life. We're sometimes committing sins, sometimes we are doing good deeds. Even good deeds, if you have done good deeds, you'll be reborn in heaven. But heaven is not the ultimate place to go. Once you have finished all the enjoyment in heaven, you still have to reincarnate. The most important is to stay away from this cycle, detached from life and death. Of course, sins and bad deeds and good deeds, if you have done bad deeds, you have to go down to the 3 vicious realms: ghost, infernal, or animal. If you do good deeds, you will go to the three beneficial realms: humans, asuras, and beings in heaven. But even these three beneficial realms, you're still subject to reincarnation. So the most important is to stay away from reincarnation. How do we stay away from reincarnation? Ultimately liberated from karma. How do we do it? We've been talking about how to do it for years. So you really have to get into it, try to understand more about it. Much easier to know than in the old days. Why? Because of information. Like if you Google into anything, you can find it. The Buddhist teaching. If you have the patience of getting into Google to get beneficial information to you, mind you, this kind of source of information is like fire. It helps you, it can also burn you. Depends on where you get into it. If you get into something that you shouldn't see, if you get into sex and violence, it will pull you down. If you get into Buddhist teaching or any philosophical teachings that teaches you to be better, you are better up, you better yourself. Which way you want to choose? Which way you're addicted to? How do you addicted to your Facebook? Examine yourself. What did you see when you were interacting with the Facebook? Did you see all the beneficial information? Or did you see something that pull you down, that get you addicted, that get you hour after hour, you see it again, like some teenagers who get drawn to the addicted Facebook. Heaven or hell, you choose it. You have a choice. Like in all democratic society, you have a choice.